It's not generally our disposition. In fact, it's absolutely not our disposition to say, wow, thank you, God, for this like really challenging time. Like, no. I'm just nifty cameras. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Very happy Advent. We're 2 days away from Christmas now. I'm in an unfamiliar setting. I'm in my husband's childhood bedroom because we're at his parents' house. And today I just wanted to hop on really quickly and share 3 reasons to be thankful in times of suffering. Or things you can think of when you're in a time of even inconvenience. So not necessarily like groundbreaking trauma or anything, but sometimes when we are in an inconvenient time or in a time of suffering or a time of really, really intense pain or loss, we can think of these things and it can actually help us to be thankful in a time of suffering, which is not what I think we are as humans, as sinful human beings, what we're like naturally inclined to do. I think we're naturally inclined to want to make it stop or to find a source of pleasure that would try and make it stop. These 3 things God has really been revealing to me personally. Not in some like groundbreaking way, but just for the, sorry, I'm out of breath. Not in some groundbreaking way, but I've been really consistent with my rosary, thanks be to God, like not on my own. I used to really kind of dread the Sorrowful Mysteries because it was painful for me to dwell on the suffering of God. But recently God is just like, it's almost one of the ones I look forward to the most because it helps me, and I think it helps all of us, obviously. This is nothing new. I'm sure I'm not breaking any like theological ground here, but it allows me to be joyful in my suffering, in my inconvenient times in my life. There's the kitty. She's rearranging herself back there. So, without further ado, the first reason to be thankful during a time of suffering or inconvenience or trial or whatever is because Jesus is giving us an opportunity to be like him. If I dwell on that, if I realize, wow, like God, first of all, everything is on purpose. Nothing is an accident. God controls everything that happens, whether permissively or because he's actively wanting something to happen. So that's my first little tip, is to just remember that Jesus is offering you a chance to be like him in a moment of suffering, in a moment of inconvenience. So you can say, thank you, God. Like, I don't know why this is happening or what your plan here is. Like, I can't see the future. I don't know what you've got in store, but thank you for allowing me a moment to be like you. My second little tip and reason to be thankful during a time of suffering is because God uses these times to purify us, purify our souls, purify our intentions, and help us realize that we are 100% dependent on him. I don't know if you've ever felt this way, but you know, when our lives are going really easily and smoothly, it's easy to drift away from God, actually. You know, like, blessed are the poor in spirit, because when you're in a state of poverty mentally, whether that's actually monetarily, and you're like poor spiritually, you depend on God. Everything that you have or don't have is from God. Like, that blows my mind when I think about it. Anytime I've really faced some serious difficulty or hardship in my life, I find that I'm just so dependent on God. Like, it's so easy to remain very sure my life is in God's hands, you know? My third little tippy on how to be thankful during times of trial, suffering, inconvenience. When we are in a time of suffering, it is God begging us to be patient. He would never force us to be, but he's asking us to be. In suffering and in trials, we have a choice. We can either wish it away. That's what I was saying at the beginning. Like, most of the time when you're suffering, you want it to stop. Like, you do anything to just like make it stop, make it end. But I don't think that that is necessarily what God is asking us to do. Instead, and this is really hard, and it is only by the grace of God that we can do this, we can be present for it. And we can sit in that time and not wish it away. And we can just be thankful to God that he's, again, offering us a chance to be like him, and knowing that he redeems everything. Every bad thing, quote unquote bad, hard thing. I heard this recently in a podcast from, I love her, Farmhouse on Boone. She's wonderful. But she was interviewing M is for Mama, so another blogger. Obviously, you can tell I'm like trying to be a mom here. I don't know what her name is, but the blogger, M is for Mama, said things can be hard, that does not necessarily make them bad. So our choice is to wish it. We can either wish it away or we can sit in it. We can trust God and we can trust his plan. Even the most horrible, awful things ever that have ever happened are always redeemed. God always redeems them, and there's a silver lining always. And I really love how Father Mike says this. Father Mike Schmitz, if you're watching somehow my videos, I'm sure you're familiar with Ascension Presents, and I don't remember again what video this was from, but he said the worst thing that's ever happened on earth led to the very, very best thing that has ever happened on this earth. And if we can guess what that is, obviously the worst thing was the crucifixion, killing God. Like, it breaks my heart. But that necessary thing, that necessary suffering, as awful as that is, led to the best thing that's ever happened on earth, and that was a resurrection, when Jesus saves us and is who he says he is and literally redeems humanity. So if you're in a period of trial or suffering, I encourage you, by the grace of God, like, we can't do this on our own, but just think of that the worst thing in the world was the crucifixion, and then that led to the best thing that happened in this world, which is the resurrection. And so God will resurrect every bad, hard thing that happens to us. He will make it good somehow. He will find a way to shine light into it. So let's try to accept our suffering. Don't try to wish it away. Be present for it. Thank God that he has a good plan. Thank him that it's an opportunity for you to be like him in your suffering. And something I love is this idea of redemptive suffering. So we can offer up our sufferings. And even if we don't fully comprehend what this is actually meaning, but we can offer up those times that he is, asking us, essentially, if that's what he's allowing, asking us to suffer, and offer it as our own sacrifice that we gladly make in exchange for the sacrifice that God made for us. And I really, really want to be sensitive here to huge, painful, serious trauma. I don't even think that we should attempt to be thankful for terrible things that have happened to us, like trauma, abuse, sexual abuse, losing a loved one suddenly. I think a certain level of healing needs to occur before we can try and ask God to help us be thankful or to see a silver lining somehow in those types of things. And I think therapy, counseling, all the help that we can get to process these god-awful things that have happened to you or to someone you know or whatever. I just wanted to add a little caveat. This is something that we need to put some time and space between painful things, and eventually God will help us heal and eventually help us see this silver lining and in a way that we can be thankful for our suffering. But for the sufferings and inconveniences and trials that we experience every day, this is a really, really good practice that we can try to implement in our lives, is just be thankful. Not our natural words are so hard. Not our natural inclination, but if we can try and do that, we can actually be thankful during times of trial, starting with those most mundane things that we might experience every day, all the way up to those most grievous, awful, terrible things that may have happened. And it can actually end up being very healing, I think. Also, I wanted to show a quick little bump date because I am 25 weeks pregnant. I can't believe how fast this is going by. I made my baby registry this past weekend, or I guess these last couple days. It has been so fun to imagine our life that's gonna change like crazy in a few months and pick out all of the little things that are gonna help us ease that transition and make our little baby boy a happy, little, comfortable human being. So here's my bump. 25 weeks. 25 weeks today. Or not today. It was 25 weeks Monday, now it's Wednesday. I'm really happy. He's squirmy and moving all the time, especially at night and in the morning. I guess it's probably just when I'm super relaxed. But I love it so much. much. That's everything for today. Not super formal or anything like that, but I did want to continue. It's my third and final video in my little prayer series on Advent. So if you haven't seen the first two, which were the 54-day Rosary Novena, how to pray it, why to pray it, and then also 7 ways to refresh your prayer time. Because during Advent, we know we're waiting for Jesus. We are so excited for his coming, and it's so important to pray during this time and all times. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and like, subscribe if you enjoy this type of content, and hopefully we will see you again in another video. Thank you guys. Bye.